Good evening. This is a meeting of the Athens Board of Zoning Appeals. The time is 7:03 p.m. and the date is September 12, 2017. At this time, I will call the meeting to order. I was just informed that they have a few hearing aid devices, so if you need one, please let the people know over there and they will provide one for you. The board consists of 5 members and 2 alternates. The alternates taking full part in the discussions and becoming a voting member in the absence of a member or when a member abstains for conflict of interest. Before I introduce the members present tonight, on behalf of the board, I would like to thank Ms. Joan Kranansky for her long-term service and contributions to the board, and we wish her the best in the future. Good to hear.
You're here.
Okay.
Good old British statement.
Okay. I also would like to welcome our newest member of the board, Mr. John Gutekunst. Welcome. And also Mr. Ed Baum will be a full member effective tonight. Welcome. Also, okay, we now have on the board present tonight, we have Ms. Kate Housley. Thank you too. And Mr. Ed Baum will be the full members, and alternates will be Mr. Aaron Thomas and John Gutekunst. I am John Goldsey, the chair. Also present, we have the zoning administrator, Mr. Rick Sorois, and secretary, Mr. Paul Eschenbacher. At this time, I invite you to view a pre-recorded video on the rules and procedures of the board.
The Athens Board of Zoning Appeals operates according to the following procedure. The chair will name and describe the case. The zoning administrator or secretary will state the basis of the objection and any applicable facts or conditions pertaining to the case. The appellant or their representative will give reason why the appeal should be viewed favorably. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in general comment will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be heard. If necessary, the appellant or their representative will offer concluding, summary, or rebuttal remarks. Testimony from the floor shall be closed. The board will deliberate and render a decision. According to Athens City Code, Section 23.07.03b, the board has power to grant variances from the strict application of the code, provided the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, the spirit of the code is observed, public safety and welfare are secured, and substantial justice is done. According to Athens City Code, Section 23.07.10c, variances from the code shall not be granted unless the board makes specific findings of fact based directly on the particular evidence presented to it, that the standards and conditions imposed in this title, if applicable, have been met by the applicant. Exceptional circumstances. There are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone. Practical difficulty and undue hardship. Because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to a specific piece of property, a literal enforcement of these regulations will result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of public purposes. Preservation of equal property rights. Literal interpretation of these regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone and the same vicinity, while a granting of the requested variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied to other properties in the same zone and the same vicinity. Minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property. Absence of detriment. The authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest. Not of a general nature. The condition or situation of the specific piece of property or the intended use of said property for which variance is sought, one or the other or in combination, is not of so general or recurrent a nature as to make reasonably practicable the formulation of a general regulation for such condition or situation. Any person, resident, or officer, department, or appointed body of the City of Athens, aggrieved by a decision of the Board, may petition the Athens County Court of Common Pleas concerning the illegality of the decision. Such petition must be filed within 30 days after the mailing of the decision of the Board to the applicant. Thank you.
There are 4 cases on tonight's agenda, and this is the order we are going to hear it. Case number 17-19, the properties at 205 and 209 East State Street. And case 17-20V, the property at 120 West Union. Case number 3 is case 17-21V, the property at 9 Westfield Place. And the last case would be case 17-22V, and the property at 50 East State Street. The board is required to take testimony under oath. Would anyone wishing to speak concerning any item on the agenda please stand? Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you will present to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Please be seated. Case number 1 is case 17-19V. The properties at 205 and 209 East State Street. The zone is R1. Appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 23-1001, Table A, Schedule of Bulk Controls, to allow for 205 East State Street a left side setback of 0 feet, where 8 feet is the minimum requirement, and to allow for 209 East State Street a right side setback of 0 feet, where 8 feet is the minimum requirement. To have an enclosed walkway between the 2 structures. Anything the code office would like to add? No?
Not at the moment.
Okay. I had a question for the code office. When you combine 2 buildings with a breezeway or a walkway, would that be considered one structure now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have 1 structure on 2 lots.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions for the code office?
Let me just follow that up. If you have 1 structure, then would the appropriate action be to combine the lots to make 1 lot?
Yes, sir. That would be the appropriate action. That would be one of the actions, other than this action today.
And if that's the case, do we still need to hear this case?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Your letter that was sent to the appellant referred to 23302 and 23308, which was regarding the architectural features and the height and so forth, but this variance is only for the setbacks.
Correct.
Okay, I just didn't know why there was refused for one thing and then that was the letter that you sent to
Oh,
the
the one I
appellant.
sent.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just explaining the cornices, canopies, and other similar architectural features. That's just explaining that part.
Okay.
That's an architectural feature.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The appellant, would you please come to the podium and state your name and address and your case?
Hello, thanks for hearing me tonight. My name is Alan McMillan. I stand before you representing myself and my wife, Kateri. It's kind of a different situation. We own the property at 209 East State Street, and we also own the property at 205 East State Street. We own it through our investment company, Cranberry Row. We're going to request a variance on the side setback. We don't intend to combine the structures, so I mean, we may be on a thing here. We just want a breezeway between the structures, and that may be, I don't know the legality of this, but the thing is, it was really an afterthought. We have been, and I think it's fair to say we've been through a thoughtful remodel of this property since we started here 10 years ago. From what we did at 209, we didn't know 205 was going to be in our future. We went ahead and did a very expensive restoration to make sure the property would be here for hundreds of years beyond us being here. And that was one of our intentions, and we worked really hard at that, removing all the paint and redoing all the rotted wood. And then we moved on to hardscapes, and then we had the opportunity to get the house next door, and we actually, because there wasn't room between the two houses, we picked it up, we moved it back, and we moved it over, and we hold light in our dining room again. They never would have been able to add on to the house in the manner that was so close to our house if they had had this process, I don't know how many tens of years ago. And then landscaping's going in next, and then we're going to go ahead and remove the shingles on 205 and make it look not as one structure, as a unique home that happens to be joined with this. So we're requesting that the side setback can stay in place. We actually thought we were being clever when we built it. It was a afterthought, so I'm just laying my cards on the table. And we said, just don't touch the ground. It's just going to be, so we didn't think, because we didn't build a structure going out of the ground, that it was going to be a side setback. It was just going to be a pathway between the two properties. And it gives us a lot of utility as a family because we can then use the kitchen and the bathroom next door, and we're getting ready to gut the kitchen and bathrooms in our house, and that will be the only kitchens and bathrooms we have, so it works for us. And then there's just a lot of movement other than going out the backyard, going down the stairs, going downstairs again, going into the basement, and going up into the house. So it gives us a tremendous amount more utility. We think that we view it as two separate houses and two separate properties, and we think that this is a really unique situation because we are kind of landlocked between four city streets, between East State Street, Maplewood, Lloyd, and Sunnyside. When we moved here, we didn't really have a lot of privacy. We were on a corner lot, and now we have privacy, with the fencing and whatnot, and we have a backyard like most of our neighbors have a backyard now. We didn't have that before. We've also tried to be true to form when we built this, that we used reclaimed architectural things like we've done throughout the house, and the cupola we put on our house and all of that. We've tried to be tasteful in that. And if it was necessary, we would go ahead, if we needed to waive the setback for both properties, we'd file those if we had to. But we didn't mean to create an issue. We learned along the way we did create an issue, and that brought us to in front of you tonight. But I think the situation is unique. We're not harming others. There was no complaint from any neighbors, and to the contrary, our neighbors thought it was beautiful. And we don't think we've harmed anyone, and we've got a kind of a unique situation here.
Any questions for the appellant?
Well, at some point in the future, you will no longer be living in the house.
You're right.
Do you plan to sell them separately?
No,
And if so, what are you going to do with that walkway?
Okay. We would intend we're working on the legal structure right now, but we want this to be an asset that the community can enjoy long after we're gone. We're raising our boys in a way that we want to make sure that we can do community events and those kind of things in the future. We want to make sure that the property is maintained, and we'll go ahead and put enough money aside that it gets painted regularly and it doesn't deteriorate, and it can look like it does today, actually better when you get the shingles off the one at 205. You know, and that will go on into, I know there's not perpetuity at some point, but way into the future. So we would like to keep it as a treasure in the community, and that we can, that we might be able to do some community events, some fundraisers and that kind of stuff there long after we're gone.
Have you actually considered combining the two lots?
Yes, we did, but there's reasons why we don't want to do that. And so that's, and we thought about it, and then actually if we combine the lots, I don't want to make your decision easier, then this would all go away. But we have reasons why we do not want to do that. But it's not because we're going to develop it. But in the future, economics change and future can change. And how about if my kids, in order to maintain the property and wanted to keep it with the vision, they had to rent the other property, you know, that would be different. But I can tell you, there's exterior doors on both properties going into this breezeway.
And what is under the breezeway?
Nothing,
Nothing?
nothing.
Okay.
I'll be part of the landscaping scheme.
Okay, okay.
Beautiful.
It does look very nice.
Yeah, we tried.
You may be seated, and then we may call you back again if you have
Okay,
questions.
great, thank you.
Sure. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this request? Please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Okay. My name is John Rinaldi. I own the property at 197 East State Street, probably the closest structure to Alan McMillan's house. And I've owned that house before Alan came to town, a considerable number of years before Alan came to town. And I actually knew the folks that sold Alan the small house, and he also sold me 197. In any event, I'm here to express my support for Alan and his endeavors with that property. He's done a phenomenal job with it, and I think that he has done a lot for the east side of Athens. And being a business owner in the community, his time is probably the most precious resource I have personally seen Alan devote to the property and to the neighborhood. And as his neighbor, I thank him for that. He's done phenomenal things, and I've been right next door all along. But throughout the process, and he's been very straightforward and honest with me and as to what his intentions were. And if somebody wants to bring this sort of development to Athens and do it in such a tasteful way that is benefiting his family, it's not like he's putting in a ton of rental units in there. This is for his family and for his enjoyment. And I think this is what this zoning board is all about, is getting folks like Alan, who's contributed in many ways to the neighborhood, what they need to do so they could enjoy themselves. I was just thinking, if it was a couple more years down the line, it is quite a pest to walk in and out. I would want a walkway just in case it was snowing out, or God forbid someone in the family couldn't travel freely between the two houses. I think it's access to his property, which he owns and has bought and has maintained to high standards. So that's about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak on behalf of this variance? Anyone wishing to speak in general comment will be heard now. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Mr. Sorois, you have?
Yes, I do. I received a phone call at approximately almost 4 o'clock today, and I recorded the message because it's a submission on this case. If you bear with me here, I record it. Let's see. try again, sorry.
Ryan in the control room, can that go in the speakers from his microphone?
Yeah, I already verified if I can get it here.
Okay.
Regarding the public hearing, I understand it's tonight. This is September 12th, and it's the appeal, the zoning appeal for the or Allen and Kateri McMillan property on East State. I just didn't know. I realized that I'm just calling probably too late, but I would like to just put in the word. I live across the street, and I would rather that variance not be permitted. I do not like how they keep adding on property, buildings and cement, and I feel like they're defacing our community. And I bought here 20 years ago, long before they did, and it's very unpleasant how they have aggressively influenced the makeup of the community, and it's been very unpleasant. But I don't know if we have any choice in the matter. So I just thought I'd at least leave a message. So anything that can prevent them adding on more buildings and more cement would be very much appreciated. My name is Karen Peterson Jung, and my husband is Peter Jung, a professor at OU, distinguished professor. My phone number is 740-593-5407. That's Karen Peterson Jung and Peter Jung. We would like to vote in favor of that variance not being allowed. We need less structure, less building, less cement. This is a very lovely green space, and I would like to maintain it. And a very lovely neighborhood. We've lived here over 20 years. So thank you for listening. Bye.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition? Sir, you have a chance to rebuttal if you like. You'll make any comment or
I respect the input of all my neighbors. There's a larger story here than this issue we're here tonight. There's a much larger story, and I'm disappointed that it's framed as this is the issue.
okay.
The issue extends far beyond this, and I'd be willing offline, I don't know if this is the forum to explain it to you, but under these circumstances, I guess it's not surprising, but it's very disappointing, and I'm disappointed.
Okay, thank you.
I just want Mr. McMillan to understand that that's public record for me, and I have to present it.
No, I think you gotta do it. Everyone should have their voice. I'm all for that. But it's almost taken out of context of the grander scheme.
Did any of you have any questions for the appellant? No? Okay, thank you. We're going to close the discussion from the floor. And do we need any discussions, or anyone wants to make a motion?
Well, I'll go ahead and start the motion. I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals grant a variance from ACC 23-1003, Table A Schedule of Bulk Controls to allow for 2005 East State Street and a left side setback of 0 feet, where 8 feet is the minimum requirement, and to allow for 209 East State Street a right setback of 0 feet, where 8 feet is the minimum requirement, to have an enclosed walkway between the two structures.
I second.
I second.
I heard first, so
Sorry.
that's fine. Motion, Kay second. Did I hear 2005 you said, or 200?
205.
Okay.
I got carried away.
Okay. Okay, let's go through the findings. The first finding is exceptional circumstances. Are there any exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone. We have two structures owned by the same owner, and then the breezeway. I like breezeways, by the way, so
Well, it is exceptional in that it is unique.
it's unique, right? It's a unique property, and I think there is exceptional. Anybody else has any other comments on that? Practical difficulty and undue hardship. Because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances, which we just discussed, or conditions pertaining to the specific piece of property, a literal enforcement of these regulations will result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of the public purposes.
No.
I think that, again, being able to go between the two part of the house without that breezeway may create some kind of a hardship. Preservation of equal property rights.
Well, it's unique enough that there are no comparable situations.
Okay. Is this a minimum variance? For the purpose, I guess it is. Absence of detriment. There is no evidence that this may cause any issues, not of a general nature. And again, it's not. Are we ready to vote?
I am.
All in favor of granting this variance, please raise your hand. So we have 5-0. And just a comment, I think you have been here before. And next time, if you want to make any construction, let the code office know first.
Again, I thought we were being clever and we weren't so clever.
Yeah, anything you want to do
We
is,
had a good meeting, and I gotta tell you something, the code office acted with incredible professionalism and class.
they always do, yeah.
They were great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's move to case number 2, case 17-20V. The property is at 120 West Union Street. Zone is B1, corner on Union, LLC appellant. Appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 23-10-01, Table A, Schedule of Bolt Controls, to allow renovation of the building with a front setback of 10 feet, where 25 feet is the minimum requirement. The refusal letter says 17 feet front setback. And then this says 10 feet in here, so I was kind of confused.
Yeah. Say 10 feet setback where 25 is the minimum requirement.
Yeah, but the refusal that was signed by the service safety director, it says the front setback is 17 feet.
Right. See? The canopy from setback.
So is it 17 or 10?
Canopy.
See, here it says 17.
One is for canopy and the other one just a setback. The 10 is for the canopy. Say front new canopy will have a 10-foot setback where 25 foot is the minimum. So are we doing, so it's still the out front, but then it's a 10-foot canopy, so 17 and then.
Well, the existing setback, it says 17, but what we have in here is 10. I just didn't know which one it was.
It should be 10.
10, yeah.
It'd be 10? Okay.
Yeah, that's just typo.
Okay.
Yep.
You guys have any comments on anything more? Would the appellant please come to the podium and state your name, your address, and your case?
Good evening, Rick Wasserman, representing Corner on Union LLC. I live at 1296 Vanderhoof Road, Schoolville, Ohio. I've come to rent the property at 120 West Union. My partner, Chris Roach, and I are renovating the building to put a restaurant in. The restaurant will be full service affair. It will have food, we hope 7 days a week, certainly lunch and dinner. We'll have a full bar with cocktails, wine, and craft beer and such. We're trying to make it real nice. You know, the building's been there since 1980. It was built originally as a Chinese restaurant. It was a Chinese restaurant for about 10 years, and then it was rented to the Grinders sub chain, and a renovation took place then in about 1990 or so. They stayed there for 17 years, and the property really hasn't been updated since that 1990 renovation. The case is pretty straightforward. I don't have a whole lot to say. We want to make it real nice. You know, I think that Union Station, Athens area down there is sort of achieving critical mass now. We have quite a number of nice restaurants down there. There's a wine bar. There's a number of different ethnic restaurants. There's another tavern being rebuilt that I think will be real nice. The diner's resurgent. And of course, a lot of people live right around there. It's no longer a manufacturing zone, which is what it was, I think, when the zoning code was brought up. Athens Lumber used to be across the street. Certainly, the HDL Center that's now an office building was a factory. I don't know what the setback requirement was in 1980 when the building was built, but it doesn't seem like it would have met the current setback, since the edge of the building is actually closer to the city right-of-way than the 25 feet. So we don't have a whole lot of options. What we do have is this somewhat extraordinary 28 feet of sidewalk in front of the building. Between the building and the street, it's literally 28 feet. And that stands in stark contrast to most of the sidewalks in that area, which are often less than 6 feet. So we want to put up a canopy that extends out from the building 12 feet and that comes down and rests on the sidewalk. That's the most environmentally conscious way to do a canopy in that area. It's a southern exposure, so you need the protection from the sun. There's a lot of wind that comes up from the west frequently, and an awning that reeled out, let's say, on a roll from the building and stood in sort of midair is very vulnerable to wind, and the possibility that it could be torn off and it could become a projectile that could hurt somebody is very real. You have to get out there really quickly and reel in your awning if there's a lot of wind. So the type of awning that we've selected has sort of these breakaway fabric panels that if it becomes very windy, they just sort of tear away and they can flap in the wind and they don't hurt anybody. And then the structure that stays there that's below them. We're trying to make a tasteful place. We're hoping that people will like the food. We're hoping that people will like the ambiance. That area is a nice place to sit on the sidewalk and have a meal. And we're intending to run this from the noon hour till probably 8 or 9 o'clock when dinner service closes. We wouldn't be running it in the evening. We would be partitioning the area with some sort of either temporary or semi-permanent fencing, probably some planters, and try to make it real nice. That's about all I have to say. The building as it sits now is actually further set back than most of the properties in the area. If you were to stand at the building and just sort of sight down the street either way, everybody is closer to the road than that building is. So it's not really an exceptional circumstance. And I'll answer any of your questions.
Go ahead.
You mentioned 12 feet. Your setback is 10 feet. Does that mean that a couple of your posts will be on city property?
I have to be honest with you, sir, the math of this has confounded me since the beginning, and I'm ordinarily pretty good at math. A lot of this has to do with where you believe the right-of-way lies and exactly where the center point is. So if we take the code officer's point of view, which is perfectly reasonable, that the center of the right-of-way is the center of the street, then someone would have to be 50 feet back from the center of the street in order to meet the setback requirement. 25 to the edge of the right-of-way, 25 from the right-of-way. The building...
It's not the question.
I'm trying to explain my understanding because I'm not sure that I have the...
You have a property line.
Yes.
Will all of your corners be in your property and none on the city right-of-way?
From my understanding, the property line sits 6 feet out from the building. So we would be using, but we're not allowed to use that because of the setback, even though that's on our property line, we're not allowed to use that. So my understanding is if we were to be granted this, what we applied for is to go out that 6 feet and 4 more.
I guess the question for the code office, since it's on city property, wouldn't city council have to grant permission to put something on city land?
Yes, sir.
Well,
So this
but
is a
the-
two-step
but the-
process.
Not necessarily, because the actual support post does not have to sit 10 feet out. It could sit at the 6 feet point, and the edge, the next 4 foot of the canopy would
I
cantilever.
guess we'll let you work that out with city council.
Question.
Go ahead.
How long you been working on this project?
Well, I've been working on the concept of another restaurant for about a year. I was going to go into one of the buildings on Union Street that burned, wasn't able to get an agreement with the landlord. This opportunity came up in about March, and we signed a lease May 23rd. So we've been in there doing construction basically since the end of June or so.
It's a costly build-out. So how long would it take if city council had to wait, he had to wait for them to make their decision and then back here? Is that it? Is that what he'd have to do?
I don't know.
It's a long time to wait for a small businessman like that.
Yeah, I figured that's something he'll have to worry about.
Well, it isn't, it's,
So he'll be notified somehow.
Yeah.
Now, this is the first I'm hearing of that, frankly. We submitted the plans to the code office in June or July, and this is the response that we got, and the only notification we got is that we need an exception to this particular bulk control.
So how far would a patio come out? Like the awning, but then the patio itself? Far
The
as the
same.
gating? Same.
We want to put up a canopy, and the edge of the canopy would be the edge of the area that we'd be using.
And it'd be fenced off and no one can get
Yeah, there's a number of different schemes to
Right.
use. If it wouldn't be like a 6 foot high fence, you'd probably have a 4.5 foot high sort of either permanent or temporary railing system. Probably have some planters and that sort of thing.
So how far are we looking from the edge of the patio to the curve?
You'd still have 18 feet.
Do I recall correctly that there used to be seating out there?
I
I
don't
have this
know.
vague recollection that there was some seating out there at one point.
It was.
Paul, do you remember?
I think there was briefly with grinders.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember that. They had tents. They had a kind of picnic table type setup out there.
Any other questions? Just not related to the subject maybe, but once you have the fence in there, would that allow you to serve alcoholic beverages in that area?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know that under the laws of the state, liquor control would have no problem with that. It would become part of the demised premises. But I don't know what the city's regulation is concerning that.
Okay, something
So-
you'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly there are plenty of businesses doing it in the city currently, in similar situations, some of them on the city right of way. It's hard for me to know, it seems like it's a gray area.
And can you share with us what kind of a restaurant it would be? What kind
Oh,
of
sure,
food?
it's going to be a bistro focusing on southern United States food, so there's going to be a lot of short rib and chicken and waffles and shrimp and grits and that sort of thing, and we're hoping to hire a good chef who can take some seafood from out of the area, make some good stuff out of it, and we've also forged some relationships with local farmers. There'll be some bison, I hope, some other local
Okay, very
meats
good.
coming from in and out of the area.
I just recalled, wasn't there a barbecue place in that place they had the best ribs in there once upon a time. All right, great, thank you.
Anything else?
Not right now, but we may call you again. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this request? Yes, sir.
We've received 4 letters in support of the variance that just came in the last day or two.
Okay,
With your permission, I'll go
sure,
ahead and read it.
absolutely. Maybe you can summarize, or if you'd like to read the whole thing,
Well,
it's fine.
I'll read it a good clip here. The first one is from John Glazer. I am writing in support of the request for a variance on restrictions pertaining to the use of space in front of the new restaurant, Corner on Union, being developed at the building located on 120 West Union Street in Athens. While the intended use of this space, a canopy-covered outdoor cafe area, would encroach on the 25-foot setback restriction, the value created for the neighborhood and the city as a whole far outweighs the setback consideration and is worthy of a variance. I am an Athens resident employed at Ohio University's Voinovich School as Director of Tech Growth Ohio, a venture development organization with services and funding for startup companies in the Southeast Ohio region. I also serve as an analyst for the Intelligent Community Forum, sponsors of the annual Intelligent Community Awards. The new restaurant will be a high-quality venue on Union Street, and the outdoor cafe component will enhance not only the immediate neighborhood, but also creates a community space promoting Athens' desired identity as a cool and intelligent city. The immediate neighborhood is improved through the creation of an attractive outdoor space that enhances the vibrancy of the neighborhood, projecting qualities of vitality and connection to the surrounding areas. It will help bring to life this part of our city and express a collective appreciation of shared space and resilience. The city as a whole benefits from this use of space as it reflects a modern, dynamic community drawing people together in open spaces and shared experiences. Sidewalk cafes increase the energy, attractiveness, and visibility of local culture and civic life. The value of increased community interactions and the projection of vibrant community life serves citizens of Athens and contributes to shaping the town and culture that enhance our lives together. To help accomplish these goals and realize these values, a variance is needed to enable the outdoor cafe area on West Union Street. Thank you for your consideration, John Glazer. Second letter is from Leslie Schaller. Dear members of the Board of Zoning Appeals, I would like to lend my support for the development of an outdoor seating area for restaurant dining at the Corner on Union restaurant, which is being developed by Rick Wasserman on the Corner of Union LLC. This support pertains to case 1720V 120 West Union Street. As a member of the Athens Independent Restaurant Association and long-term restaurant owner, I believe additional outdoor seating along West Union Street will fit with the character of the neighborhood and create another community amenity for customers committed to supporting our locally owned restaurants. Athens has a robust local food economy and continues to evolve as a foodie destination for locals and visitors alike. Although exterior premise development for patios and beer gardens can at times raise concerns, I would suggest that this location in a retail district is suitable. Redefining our public spaces with creative placemaking opportunities can accommodate more businesses to create more convivial destinations to enjoy outdoor seating throughout the Athens seasons. The sidewalk adjacent to the property has ample space to design a contained patio which would not interfere with pedestrian traffic. This could be an ideal case for identifying ways to flex current code requirements to meet more up-to-date uses that work in other towns and metro areas. Thank you for your consideration. Cooperatively, Leslie Schaller. The third letter is from Charlotte Wachtel. Dear board members, I am writing you to ask that you consider granting a variance to the 25-foot setback rule so that Mr. Wasserman can erect a canopy over a portion of the sidewalk in front of his building. Not only would his restaurant benefit from offering an outdoor space to dine, but the neighborhood and town in general would benefit for several reasons. One, canopies and outdoor dining spaces are visually appealing to those passing by and would increase Athens' appeal to visitors. Two, it would create a shady, comfortable spot for community members to meet and enjoy outdoor dining. Three, the sidewalk traffic there is light. Four, 120 West Union Street is further back than other buildings along that stretch of the street, and plenty of sidewalk would still be available for foot traffic. Five, an outdoor dining space located across from a nice view of the park and train station where traffic is light and parking is usually available would draw people into town, especially in summer, when business in uptown Athens is an issue in general. This would benefit other businesses as well. As past president of the Athens County Planning Commission, I realize some of the issues you face in considering variances and the limitations imposed on you by the rules set forth in this code. However, in this case, I think a variance has merit for our wider community. Thank you for your consideration, Charlotte Wachtel. The fourth and final letter is from Carol Patterson. To BZA Board, I am writing as an avid supporter of the wonderful value that Athens independent restaurants bring to our city and to ask you to issue a variance to Rick Wasserman for the new establishment he is opening at 120 West Union Street. That area of West Union is unique and, quote, Athens quirky, unquote. Outdoor dining at that location will add charm and ambiance to the neighborhood. The code in question is the requirement of a 25-foot setback, or 50 feet from the road center. 120 West Union sits back further from the curb than several other locations on the street. The request is for consideration of a 40-foot allowance from the center of West Union. The difference will not affect the number of parking spaces and will still allow more than ample space for the required walkway. Rick Wasserman has been an outstanding advocate for Athens and businessman for decades. He is establishing a new venue, adding jobs and economic development, and by doing so, utilizing an existing space in a vibrant neighborhood. His concept of putting a canopy on the front of the building to provide a protected outdoor dining space will provide visual and patron experience enhancement. I sincerely hope you can support his plans. Respectfully, Carol Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Eschenbacher. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in behalf or in favor of this variance, or in general comments or opposition? Okay. You don't have anything else to add, right? Okay. We close the discussion from the floor. And would anyone like to make a motion?
Sure. I move to grant a variance in case 1720V, 120 West Union Street from ACC 231001, Table A, schedule of bulk controls to allow renovation of a building with a front setback of 10 feet where 25 feet is the minimum requirement.
Second.
Okay. Okay. Findings, exceptional circumstances. I think this exceptional wide walkway would be an exception to the rule.
Yes.
It was pretty wide when I was walking today, so it is not going to interfere with any traffic, pedestrian traffic.
Still keeps 8 feet of the sidewalk
Yeah,
there too.
it
so-
does. In some places, you only have 2 feet for people
Right.
to walk. Practical difficulty and undue hardship.
Well, he's increasing his revenue, which increases taxes. You have more people.
One thing,
More butts and
one thing
seats.
that we do not consider, and I know
Is
this is your
taxes.
first, no, it's financial difficulty.
Okay.
We do not consider that at all. But
It's using an empty space right now.
Yeah.
It's just a vacant building, so.
any comments on the practical difficulty and undue hardship that we may create by literally enforcing the law?
Well, he wouldn't be able to use this excessive sidewalk in a way that would be
It would
best
be
for the
more-
community.
Okay. Preservation of equal property rights. I think
Yeah.
there have been some other restaurants that have had this before. Is this a minimum variance?
Yes.
And absence of detriment,
Right.
and none of a general nature.
No.
Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor of granting this variance, please raise your hand. We have 5-0. The food better be good. Will you be serving any pizza? Okay, let's move on to case number 3. Case number 1721V, Westfield Place, number 9. Zone is R3. And the appellant, I apologize if I mispronounce your name, is Briju Tankajan?
Yes, good.
Okay, very good. Tankajan. I practiced it. No, just wait for 1 second. Yeah, let me read this thing. Appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 231001 Table A, a schedule of bulk controls, to allow the addition of a deck to a structure with a left side setback of 0 feet, where 8 feet is the minimum requirement. There was a letter that was sent to the code office on August 28th. And when I read that, I think that really addressed the issue of the left side requirement, none of those structures over there, they have a left side because they are attached to units. So that's kind of a general nature in that neighborhood. They have to have the setback requirement, huh? Okay. Now you may come to the podium, state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Vijay Pangashan. I am an owner of the 9 Westerfield Place, Athens, Ohio. So we got the refusal from the city code, and we didn't know that the process. We submitted the drawings, and they said it's abide with the drawings. It's good, but you cannot build because the 8 feet requirement. So as you know, it's a townhouse. It's a shade wall. And so there is no way we can make an 8 feet there. The second reason is attached to home, and also you can see the pictures that I have attached. Both our neighbors, they have the deck, and as a family we would like to enjoy a deck. And all the 60 plus houses there, most of them they do have and also we do have the approval from the homeowners association. And so I think that's all I have to say.
I didn't want to walk because I knocked on the door, nobody was home today, and I didn't want to walk behind your house. But when you go in the back, when you look at all the neighbors, how many decks do you see? Do you see quite a bit?
Yes.
Okay. So other neighbors, they have decks?
Yes. All the neighbors.
Very good. Any questions from the board for the appellant?
I went there and looked at the back. There's decks everywhere, all over.
okay.
You're the only one who doesn't have a deck. They had a phone line through your backyard, little flags.
Actually, we submitted any
You did that?
ground. Yeah, got the permission, the utility approval. So there is no problem with the digging or anything. So.
Okay, you may be seated, and we may call you again if you have questions. Now, is there anyone who would like to speak on behalf of this proposal? Did you swear?
Yes.
Okay, please come to the podium and state your name and your case.
Hi, I'm Betsy Bridgew, and I'm Bridget Anderson's wife. And,
Same address, right?
Yes,
Okay.
9 Westfield Place. And as I said, we would like to enjoy the deck as a family. All the neighborhood homes except us have a deck, and we thought we'd build the deck. The previous owner bought the house even before the deck was built. It was built by a group of developers, and every house has a similar pattern, and we and our neighbor who share a wall are mirror images of each other except for our deck. So we decided to build a deck. We've been living there for 3 years now, and we'd like to request a difference in variance. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Any questions? Thank you. We do have a copy of the email that Bridget sent to the Homeowners Association. That was very good that you did that. You requested for building the deck, and they responded. The Westfield Place Homeowners Association Board of Trustees has reviewed your request. We have unanimously approved your request to build a deck on the back of your home that's located at 9 Westfield Place. Very good. We close let me go back in here. Anybody in opposition? I guess I asked that one. Nobody opposing? No general comments. We're going to close the discussion on the floor, and unless there's any discussion, entertain a motion.
Okay, Aaron, give it a shot.
You're next, though.
We like to share.
So move forward to approve the variance from ACC 23.10.01, Table A, Schedule of Bulk Controls, to allow the addition of a deck to a structure with a left side setback of 0 feet, where 8 feet is the minimum requirement.
I second the motion.
Okay. Okay, let's go into the findings. Exceptional circumstances. I think, as I mentioned earlier, these units are connected together. There is no way that they could have any left setback, and that should have been taken care of years ago, I suppose.
Well, this whole thing, some people may recall, started out as a planned unit development. It didn't really become an official planned unit development, if my memory serves me correctly, but you have 3 units which are tacked together, which don't meet our normal zone and code requirements. So the whole thing is a little bit different, and so by its very nature, it's exceptional.
So now we know whose fault it was. Huh?
No, it was a good
was a good,
development up there.
Practical difficulty and undue hardship. I mean, they're entitled to have a deck in the backyard.
Everybody
and
else do. It seems like
everybody else is
the whole
doing.
neighborhood does.
Preservation of equal property rights, that applies there.
Yep.
And minimum variance, I think this is minimum. I don't know if he had a dimension of the deck, but I'm sure it will comply with the code office.
Yeah, dimensions was in there.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
And not of a general nature. No? Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor of granting this variance, please raise your hand. You have the variance 5-0. Mhm. And our last case is case number 17-22V, property at 50 East State Street. Zone is R3. BDT Architects, Jim Thomas are the appellants. Appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 23-10-01. By the way, all our variances tonight were from the same section. Table A, a schedule of bulk controls to allow the remodeling of a structure with a front setback of 7 feet where 25 feet is the minimum requirement. A right side setback of 0 feet where 8 feet is the minimum requirement. Both side setbacks together add up to 9 feet, where 20 feet together is the minimum requirement. And from ACC 23-10-01, Table B, off-street parking requirements to have 5 accessible parking spaces, where 22 accessible parking spaces are the minimum requirement. I had made 2 notes in here. One, I think they reduced the number of occupancy to 17, so there's still the 22 spaces?
Well, no, I was unaware that they had reduced it to 17. What I wanted to explain, I was the one who refused the permit.
Okay.
But the reason why, what I want to explain is, with all this work they're doing, the footprint of the building is not going to change at all.
Right.
With all the work they're doing, the parking area is not going to change at all. However, as we've had in past cases, if something is non-conforming, if they do a significant enough change to it, it has to come into conformity. So, because of the setbacks and the parking and stuff, the county auditor listed the value of the building at, I think, $350,000, and the amount of the renovation was going to be $770,000. I thought it was more than extensive enough work inside to kick in the idea of, because they're changing the structure, that it would come into this. Also, as far as the parking goes, if you notice the parking area, it can hold 15 cars, 5 across, 3 deep. However, because of the zoning, all the spaces have to be accessible.
Right.
Which is why, even though physically, practically, there are 15 spaces in there, we can only count 5 of them as being accessible. What I would assume would happen is, and what we would do is, if this is approved and they park there as they have before, they can park 15 cars there. Just because we say there are officially 5 spaces,
Right.
doesn't mean they can't use the rest of the area there to park in. So we're officially granting them 5 parking spaces, but I'm reasonably assured that they will use 15 spaces on that lot. So again, the building, the footprint is not changing, The parking itself is not changing other than how we identify it. But because of the extent of the work in the building, that's what kicked this in.
Because in the past, there's always been stacked parking in that location.
Gravel
Yeah.
lot.
Right, yeah.
Right.
No lines.
It's unfinished, it's an unfinished lot.
Yeah.
Part of it's gravel, yeah.
So again, if they are reducing the number of people to 17, then they only need 17 parking space, right?
That, yeah, when,
Okay.
when it comes time to make the motion and stuff, we
Yeah.
can change that to where,
Okay.
instead of where 22 accessible parking spaces, we're 17.
Is the building changing usage at all, or just getting remodeled?
It's just getting.
remodeled.
huge
Just a major remodel?
Major
Right,
remodel,
right.
yeah.
And the other thing that I noticed in here, I think the right and left setback should be altogether 20 feet, but I saw 18 in the, for this zone. And maybe I have the old table, but
Okay.
the combination of the right and left, it says in here 20 feet to get altogether, but I saw 18 feet.
So I have a question. So in the past, I'm reading here, so 22 was supposed to be the accessible parking spaces for the requirement. I'm reading, 5 accessible parking spaces where 22 was supposed to be there, but it's just been granted.
It's been grandfathered.
Okay.
Grandfathered, yep.
And as for the 8 and 20, for 1 and 2 family, it's 8 and 18. For apartment or rooming houses, which I considered this.
Okay.
it's 8 and 20.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the code office? No, the appellant, would you please come to the podium and state your name and your address?
Jim Thomas, I'm with BDT Architects at 507 Michigan Avenue.
Okay,
The project and my client is the Phi Kappa Tau fraternity. And basically, like I said, we were not changing the footprint of the building. It's a completely interior renovation. The cost is extensive because basically we're taking everything back to the existing structure. One, we wanted to go back after all of these years of renovations. We wanted to fix some things that were done not the right way. So we've taken all the drywall off, all the plaster off. And so we're fixing all the structure, going back with all new electrical systems, all new plumbing systems, all new HVAC. We're fire rating the interior stairwell. We're adding sprinkler systems, upgrading the fire alarm, new finishes. We're also trying to make the finishes somewhat bulletproof, but make them more durable. And then as far as footprints in the building, the first 2 levels we didn't change much, but the top 2 levels, basically we got rid of 5 beds so that we could make those living areas not just a big group of bedrooms. We've got now have a living space, a kitchen, laundry, and then some bedrooms, and have that on both floors. Whereas before, it was all bedrooms. They had to go down to the first floor for laundry, down to the basement for kitchen, and so on. So trying to create a better environment, safer environment. I suppose it could be done over a series of years and renovating, but it's just been so many years that to getting to this point, they made the decision that it would be best just to close the house down for the year, get the work done, and bring the building back into a better state. So like I said, we're requesting, we're not changing the use, we're requesting a variance to the bulk controls and the parking. Thank you.
any questions for the appellant?
Who's Mom Evans?
Okay.
Who's Mom Evans?
Mom,
I don't know.
I can answer that. I'll come up and speak tonight.
You being an architect, is there any creative way you can maybe add more parking space in what you have now? Sometimes they design them in a slanted way,
There's
or-
some more flat spots available, but again, access to that is a little bit difficult because the back part of that property, there's some elevation changes and accessing it would be difficult.
And I see some grassy area in here, and I don't want to say I don't like the grass, but could that be utilized for parking maybe?
Well, and Chris, you may be able to talk more about
like
this, but in my discussions with the owners of the facility, they did talk, if we had to increase some parking, that there's an old paved area that steps up a little bit, but we could make it accessible. Again, it wouldn't meet code because it would be stacking.
Yeah.
It's a place that there was, I think, like maybe a small ball court or something. And they said that, if had to, they could probably develop that into more parking areas. Again, we would have to still have a variance for the stacking.
Also, Mr. Golsey?
Yes, sir.
In R3, there's a
When you have
total lot
one car,
coverage
another car,
maximum of
and another car.
60%.
Oh, okay.
I tried to look up where, I looked it up before, I knew it was not too close, but if you'd start shoving in more parking spaces.
Okay.
I'm reasonably sure they might go over the 60%.
Oh, okay, okay. Any questions for the appellant? You may be seated for now. And is there anyone who would like to speak in favor?
I wasn't sworn, so
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, very good.
Thank you for allowing me an opportunity to speak. My name is Chris Pettit. I am the president of the Beta Chapter Phi Kappa House Corporation, the owner of the facility. It's important to emphasize for the board that this is a historical property. It was built by a Union colonel following the Civil War, and beginning in the early 20th century, it has been the home of Beta Chapter Phi Kappa Tau at Ohio University. Phi Kappa Tau has had an uninterrupted record of service at Ohio University for almost 110 years. It's the only chapter on campus that can claim that. That particular chapter house has been in the same footprint since the middle 1920s. While the exterior structure of the house has changed to some degree in terms of paint, porches, patios, and other facilities, there are still interesting features to that house that you can see today. For example, the stalls where the horses used to be kept in the basement, the coal chute that a lot of the students don't even know or realize that was what it was for, was to actually heat the house. It's a historical property. Some of the most illustrious Americans in our history have been in that house, lived in that house, have been members of the fraternity, including Paul Newman and George Voinovich. So the historical aspects of the house can't be understated. And when we sat down and decided how we were going to approach a renovation project, whether we were going to just tear the place down, whether we were going to move, sell it to a developer for other use, the overwhelming sentiment of the alumni and the undergraduate chapter, to their credit, was to keep the footprint as it was, to maintain the exterior of the house, to give it that historical appeal, and to enhance the interior areas in such a way that the fraternity memorabilia and regalia is protected and maintained so that it provides benefit not only to the chapter members and the alumni, but also the community in general. The footprint isn't, as I think we've mentioned several times before, we made a concerted effort to make sure that we maintain the footprint as it was from the beginning of the time that it became a fraternity house. We consulted with the undergraduates and really tried to bring it into the modern day mechanical systems. The house was actually heated up until May with a boiler and steam heat with radiators. We tore all that out. The wiring is, cobbled together over 40 years since the last renovation in the 1980s. That all had to be redone. The plumbing was in dire need of replacement. And so, and of course, we had a fire alarm system, not a fire safety system. We had issues with fire escape and accessible routes. The house doesn't work well for wireless connections, and the guys constantly complained about issues with their internet access, their ability to do their homework and to study. So when we talk about the costs that we're putting into this house, I would say that the overwhelming majority of those costs have to do with those basic renovation features, while, again, trying to maintain the historic look of the house. Mom Evans was actually the last fraternity house mom at Ohio University. She retired in 1985 when the chapter moved from its home at 2 University Terrace, where the fraternity leased that property in the 1970s when the fraternity became so small that we were unable to maintain the property at 50 East State Street. The property at 50 East State Street became a boarding house, essentially probably 30 or 40 residents living in both the basement, the chapter room, the parlor, and then the upstairs rooms. The concept here, from feedback from the guys, is that they didn't want to have a lot of private rooms, and they weren't particularly interested in dorm-style residence. That appeals to sophomores, 18, 19-year-old kids who are just looking for a reason to get out of the dorms and come into a place where they have fewer restrictions and more freedom. The goal here was to create livable units that de-emphasized individual spaces and emphasized community spaces. So there were places for the members to get together and enjoy their company without necessarily everybody sitting in their own room, watching their own TV, doing their own thing on their computers and devices. And we really think that this plan enhances that. There are much more available study spaces, both in the basement under our renovation plan, meeting areas. Our chapter has grown to such a size now that we can't even hold meetings in the house. We have to do them at the academic halls. The house has really become sort of a less important feature to fraternity life, unfortunately, over the last decade. And this house really brings that back, where they're going to be able to have meetings at the house. This is going to be a centerpiece for Rush. They're going to be able to really have legitimate study tables and things there. As for the parking, as was mentioned, and we're doing some consideration of other exterior features. We're certainly going to paint the place. We're going to repair some of the features on the roof. 2 years ago, we redid all of the cornucopias, the gutters, the stormwater system at a great expense. And our alumni have just been fantastic. I can't say enough about how they've stepped up to the plate. This was a considerable fundraising effort, probably the largest renovation fundraising in our entire chapter, not just our chapter here at Ohio University, but the entire fraternity. This is a renovation that's a landmark. We're already getting attention from the national organization, from the National Interfraternity Council, about not just the design and the historic nature of the house, but also the living concept and how this probably is going to impact how Greek life works going forward in terms of its residents, allowing them availability and opportunities. So you'll see that a lot of our rooms have names: Mary Mom Evans, Barry Worthy, Rick Harrison, John Good, and Gail Good, and those people who were so intricate in maintaining and developing this property as a fraternity house over the last 50 years. I'll be happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
So you're confirming that you're going to have 17 people?
Yes, 17 people is the plan. We went down from 22 to 17 to avoid some of the dorm style.
Yeah, I just want to add a comment that in the spirit of the code is that when you spend that much of a money in renovation, the idea is to bring everything to the code. But there is always, exceptional circumstances, and you are going to keep the facade and kind of the exterior of the building as it is now, maybe improving it, but it would have the same culture.
Absolutely. The 80-year-old alumni from our chapter will be able to come in and instantly recognize this as their house.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Well, we don't have anyone else to make any comments in opposition, so we close the discussions from the floor. And anyone who hasn't made a motion tonight?
John, go for it.
So what do I say?
You say, I move to approve, and just start from there.
I move to approve
A variance.
a variance from ACC 23.10.01, Table A, Schedule of Bulk Controls to allow the remodeling of a structure with a front setback of 7 feet where 25 feet is the minimum requirement, a right side setback of 0 feet where 8 feet is the minimum requirement. Both side setbacks together add up to 9 feet where 20 feet together is the minimum requirement. And from ACC 23.10.01, Table B, off-street parking requirements to have 5 accessible parking spaces where 22 accessible parking spaces are the minimum. Should I?
Maybe you should change it
Should
to
change that.
to 17 instead
Right.
of 22.
Where 17 accessible parking
Right.
spaces are,
So
the minimum requirement.
22 is going to change to 17,
Yeah.
and 17 parking lot, okay. You still want a second? Okay. By the way, there was a motion, a standard motion in the package, and I may be sending to everyone the copy. You know, we should be using the standard wording for the motions, in the future. So we have a motion by John and second by Ed. Let's go over the findings. Exceptional circumstances. There is no change in the footprint, and this is a historical building. And
I think part of the exceptional circumstances is that the assumption behind the requirement that you come into conformity with code is that the area in which you are located develops a certain
Right.
commonality. Obviously, when you have a historic property in an area in which there is no commonality, to say that it has to come into some kind of commonality with similar, like R1 or R2 or whatever it is, doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
So sometimes that itself is the exception.
right. If they had torn down the whole building and restarting, that would have been a
Right.
different story, but,
And there's nothing around it that would be similar.
yeah.
Yeah, it's becoming consistent. It's a couple other houses that got redone over the past few years too.
There's one across the street.
One across the
Yeah.
street and the one next to Bromley.
Yeah.
And, they kept the structure, but they just had to update the inside.
Right, right. Any hardship? Practical difficulty and undue hardship. If we want to stick with the code, again, that's going to probably prevent them from being able to make a use of the property.
Right.
Preservation of equal property rights.
You're going down less
It's
rooms.
unique, so it's its
Yeah.
own
It is
property
the-
rights.
Okay. Is this a minimum variance?
Yes.
Yes, it is. It's better than what it was before, I think, with 22 people. And they have been able to use the parking in some form. As absence of detriment,
Right.
there is none. Not of a general nature,
Yep.
no. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor of granting the variance, please raise your hand. We have 5-0. Yeah. We have a couple of other business to take care. Disposition of minutes from June 13, 2017. Of all the people present tonight, only Kay, Aaron, and me can vote because we were present in that meeting. So, do we have a motion to accept the minutes of June 13, 2017?
Yes.
All in favor? Raise, okay, we have the quorum. Disposition of minutes from July 11, 2017. Again, Kay, Ed, and I were in that meeting. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes of July 11?
So move.
Okay. Any other businesses?
Well, let's vote on it.
Okay, all in favor? 3-0. And if there's no other businesses, we adjourn the meeting.